For centuries, the Americas formed an unbreakable wall, stretching from the Arctic to the Antarctic, splitting the world in two. Ships traveling from New York to San Francisco, or from Europe to the Pacific, faced a brutal detour, thousands of extra miles around Cape Horn. Cape Horn was infamous. Relentless winds, monstrous waves, and icy waters made it a graveyard for ships. Sailors endured weeks of hardship, scarce food, disease, and the constant threat of death. Many never returned. The economic toll was just as severe. Months lost at sea meant higher costs, delayed goods, and a nation divided. During the gold rush, the U.S. was split. Prospectors and supplies faced either a deadly sea journey or a perilous trek across the continent. The need for a shortcut wasn't just about commerce, it was about uniting a nation and shrinking the world. The world demanded a solution, a way to bridge the divide and change the course of history. The dream of a shortcut became a national obsession. The stakes were high. Whoever solved this problem would control the future of global trade. The world waited for a bold idea. The stage was set for a revolution in geography. The answer lay hidden in plain sight, a narrow strip of land in Central America, the Isthmus of Panama. Here, the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans came within 50 miles of each other. For centuries, this spot captured the imagination of explorers and kings. As early as 1513, Balboa glimpsed the Pacific from Panama's jungles, and the dream of connecting the seas was born. Spain ordered surveys. Scientists mapped the land. The idea persisted for generations. A canal here would slash thousands of miles from global trade routes and shift the balance of power. But Panama was no easy target. The land was a tangle of jungle, mountains, and swamps, brutally hot, drenched by rain, and crawling with danger. Venomous creatures and deadly diseases lurked everywhere. The isthmus was both a promise and a threat, a shortcut to fortune, or a trap for the unwary. The world's greatest shortcut would demand a battle not just with geography, but with nature itself. The dream was alive, but the challenge was immense. In the late 1800s, France, fresh from building the Suez Canal, set out to conquer Panama. Led by Ferdinand de Lesseps, the French believed they could carve a sea-level canal through the jungle. Money and optimism flowed, workers and machines arrived in droves. But Panama was not Egypt. The terrain was treacherous, rock, clay, and endless mudslides. The Chagres River flooded unpredictably, and the Culebra Cut became a nightmare of collapsing earth. Worst of all, disease struck with terrifying speed. The French misunderstood yellow fever and malaria, turning hospitals into breeding grounds for mosquitoes. Workers died by the thousands. The project hemorrhaged money and hope. By 1889, the French effort collapsed, bankrupt, disgraced, and haunted by loss. The dream was buried under mud, debt, and tragedy. The lesson was clear: brute force alone could not conquer Panama. A new vision was needed, one that respected the land and understood its dangers. The world waited for a second chance. The French Canal was built on the backs of Afro-Caribbean laborers, drawn by hope but met with horror. They toiled in brutal heat, swinging pickaxes, handling dynamite, and wading through waist-deep mud. Living conditions were dire: overcrowded barracks, poor food, and rampant disease. Yellow fever and malaria swept through camps. Men died within days. Hospitals overflowed, earning the grim nickname, waiting rooms for the cemetery. Over 22,000 workers perished, one life for every 300 feet of canal. The project became a symbol of suffering and failure. In France, the scandal destroyed fortunes and reputations. De Lesseps died in disgrace. The canal zone was left scarred and abandoned. The French left behind rusting machines and a powerful lesson: Panama could not be conquered by willpower alone. The next attempt would require new ideas, new science, and a respect for the forces of nature. The tragedy set the stage for a new nation to try again. The world's greatest shortcut would demand more than ambition. It would demand wisdom. The cost of failure was measured in lives. The world would not forget. At the dawn of the 20th century, the United States seized the challenge. President Theodore Roosevelt saw the canal as vital for America's future, a shortcut for trade and a two-ocean navy. The first battle was against disease, not dirt. Dr. William Gorgas led a relentless campaign draining swamps, killing mosquitoes, and fumigating every building. Within 2 years, yellow fever vanished and malaria rates plummeted. With disease under control, engineer John Stevens made a bold decision: abandon the sea-level canal. Instead, he proposed a water bridge, damming the Chagres River to create a vast lake and using locks to lift ships over the mountains. This approach turned Panama's greatest obstacles into assets. The American plan was revolutionary: work with nature, not against it. The stage was set for one of history's greatest engineering feats. The world watched as America prepared to finish what France could not. The dream was alive again. The canal's future would be built on science, innovation, and respect for the land. The heart of the American plan was Gatun Lake, a man-made inland sea. Engineers built the world's largest dam, piling up millions of tons of earth and rock to tame the Chagres River. As the dam rose, water flooded the valley, transforming jungle into a lake covering 164 square miles. This inland sea solved the canal's biggest problems. Ships could now sail across open water for 23 miles, reducing excavation and landslides. The lake, 85 feet above sea level, meant the Culebra Cut only needed to reach the lake's height, not the ocean. Gatun Lake became the canal's reservoir, supplying the millions of gallons needed for each lock operation. The river that once destroyed the French effort now powered the American success. Gatun Lake was a master stroke, reshaping nature to serve human ambition. The Americans had turned a wild river into the canal's greatest ally. The water bridge was ready. The final challenge: lifting ships over the Continental Divide. The locks would make it possible. The Panama Canal locks are marvels of engineering, giant water elevators for ships. Each lock is a concrete chamber with massive steel gates. Ships enter, the gates close, and gravity-fed water raises or lowers them, step by step. 3 locks on the Atlantic side lift ships 85 feet to Gatun Lake. On the Pacific side, locks lower them back to sea level. No pumps, just the power of water and gravity. Electric locomotives called mules guide ships through the narrow chambers with precision. The entire process is controlled from a central tower, ensuring safe passage. When the canal opened in 1914, it was the most complex machine on Earth. The locks turned a continent into a crossroads, connecting oceans and nations. The world's greatest shortcut was finally real. The age of global trade had a new heart. The Panama Canal's opening in 1914 changed the world overnight. 13,000 miles around Cape Horn became a 50-mile, one-day journey. Trade boomed, markets connected, economies flourished. For a century, the canal has been a vital artery. Thousands of ships, billions in cargo, and a symbol of global commerce. Control of the canal shaped geopolitics until Panama took ownership in 1999. But the canal faces new pressures. Modern superships outgrew the original locks, prompting a massive expansion in 2016. The new locks keep the canal competitive, but strain its most precious resource, fresh water. Climate change brings droughts, threatening Gatun Lake and the canal's future. In 2026, water shortages forced restrictions. Fewer ships, lighter loads. The canal, once a triumph over nature, now reveals our dependence on it. The shortcut that united the world is vulnerable to forces beyond human control. The story is not over. The Panama Canal is more than an engineering marvel. It's a story of ambition, sacrifice, and our complex bond with nature. It stands as a monument to vision and perseverance, and a memorial to those who paid the ultimate price. For a time, it seemed nature had been conquered. Rivers, tamed, jungles, breached, oceans, joined. But today's water crisis reminds us, our victories are never absolute. The canal's future depends on balance between human ingenuity and the rhythms of the natural world. The shortcut that changed the world is now a symbol of our vulnerability. The dialogue between humanity and nature continues. Our greatest achievements are also our greatest responsibilities. The path between the seas is a lesson in humility and hope. The story of the canal and our place in the world is still being written.